Okay, so now I want to show you how to make a grid in QGIS, and this is useful. Like these point grids are useful when you need to do sampling. Um, Obviously, you can just go out in the vineyard and make a grid by going, we're going to walk every, say, 10 rows and then go down the row, every couple hundred feet or whatever, take a sample. That's an easy way to make a grid. If you want to take the kind of some guesswork out of it and some of the bias out of it, you can just create a georeference grid and load up that sort of that grid map into Avinza Maps, and then have someone walk out into the field with a tablet, and then go to each point um, on Avinza Maps and take their samples there. Of course, there's the drift that's associated with the GPS accuracy on the tablet, which isn't that great, but it'll still roughly be a grid and give you a good representative sample of your vineyard. So I think it's a pretty good method of grid sampling and taking out some of the bias. So the way you create a grid is you go over here to the processing toolbox. If that's not if you don't see the processing toolbox, right click and then you'll see it here, processing toolbox panel, and just go ahead and check that. So if I uncheck it, you'll see it went away. And if I find it again, there we go, check it, and there it is. So then I guess all I have to do is search for grid and go create grid. And we're going to go ahead and do a point grid. I'm going to zoom out a little bit here. So we're going to go ahead and do a point grid. And the grid extent, in this case, I'm just going to say use the canvas extent. That's fine. And I need to figure out the spacing within this grid. So let's say we are doing a soil sample, and we're going to do a soil sample throughout this entire vineyard. So say we wanted to take, roughly 20 samples on a grid across this vineyard, and then aggregate them into a bucket, mix them up, and then send an aliquot of that to the lab. So if we want to do 20, we need to figure out so this is in meters here. We need to, or we can do it in feet if we wanted, but I've been using meters. So what we need to do is figure out how many square meters we have in this block. Let's go ahead. Let's do feet. So we know it's 8.35. We know that it's 8.35 acres total in here. So we're going to do that times 400 or 43,560 square feet in an acre. So we know now it's this 363,726 square feet in the block. So we want about 20 samples. So we're going to break that up. So 363,726. So we're going to divide that by 20. And that'll give us, that's the number of square feet that we need in our grid. So we're going to take that number, 181.86, 181.86.3, and we're going to do the square root of that. Okay, so it's 134.86. All right, so what this means is now, so we go in here, we're going to use canvas extent, and then we're going to use in feet. And so what this means is our horizontal spacing needs to be 134.86 feet by 134.86 feet in order for us to get enough sample points that we have about 20 sample sites within our grid. So make sure that we use the UTM zone 10. Okay. And then we can save that, save this layer if we wanted to, but actually we don't need to save it. So we can leave it as a temporary layer for now because we're still going to work with it. Okay, so now we have the grid, and you can see it's quite a bit bigger than our vineyard. What we need to do now, and I'm gonna turn off the vineyard map behind it. What we need to do right now is highlight all these dots. So go up here to the select features by area or single click, and just create a big polygon. And now you can see everything's highlighted. And then what we're going to do is go to toggle editing on that grid. Everything's got those X's through them. And now we're going to start, we want to get these lined up so that they're going in the right, like each row is going down a row, right? So we go over here to rotate feature. And then go ahead and just click on one of these dots, and then you can start moving it around and get it so it's roughly parallel. And then go move feature, and we can get this on the first row here. And just kind of have a play with this until you can get it lined up. Okay. And so what I'm going to do actually is move this in just a little bit. So it looks, you can see the dots are lined up on that row pretty well. And so I'm going to move it in just a little bit because I don't want to sample from the end row. So I'm going to go in a row. Okay, that looks pretty good. So now what you have to do, so unclick toggle editing mode, save it. And now we want to clip this grid so that we're only showing points within the block. And actually, I'm going to move these down a little bit so that we're not so close to the vineyard edge. Well, it's fine. Actually, that's fine. That's actually a couple panels in, so that's fine. Okay, so now we're going to clip this grid. So we search for clip. And then you'll see down here in GDAL, there's a clip vector by mask layer. And in this case, I'm not going to clip by the vineyard map because there's just a lot of blocks and stuff, and it makes it complicated for clipping. So I'm going to clip by the boundary layers. So that's just the planted acreage where we just have the bounding box. And so there's grid. Key thing here is these have to be in the same projection. So you can see EPSG 32610. This is the UTM 10 north. So these need to be the same. Okay, and that should be good. So there you can see we've clipped. So you can now uncheck this big grid you created. Okay, and then now we have a proper grid. And so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 20. We have 24 points. And we're shooting for 20. So it's fine, right? It's not that many points extra. And actually, this one we could kind of get rid of if we wanted to, which I might just go ahead and do because it's right on the edge of the vineyard there. I can't remember how to delete a point. There is a way to delete single points. I can't exactly remember that right now. And then you can also find what's nice is, so if you open the attribute table, you'll see in here the coordinates for each of your points, and you can export these into Excel. And then if you wanted to do some like spatial modeling, like use these as sampling points, and then do some spatial modeling and stuff, you could use those coordinates. So that's it. And then from there, if you want to use this for give this to interns or whoever to go out and do sampling, just create a map and then give them the map in Avinza, and then have them just go walk around the vineyard and find where these rows are and walk down them, and then you'll be sure to get a representative sample, as long as you're the intern or whoever is actually doing this, and not just like going to this point and collecting a sample. But that's how you create a grid.